All right, so thank you everybody, and this is another recording sessions. And in this recording sessions, the first topic we are going to discuss the service called Amazon Elastic File System. So let's start with the use case, okay, that we call production use case, and we really need to understand when and why this Amazon Elastic File System or EFS, okay. Um, when in which situations you have to use, that is the point. So let's say so far we have discussed like EBS and S3. These are the storage types, correct? And in those storage types there are different purposes, right? For each and every storage types they have a different purpose. So EBS is more about the block storage, right? So that you have to attach the EBS to your EC2 is kind of EC2 with EBS, right? It could be your hard drive of your servers, and then you can use that. S3 is object storage, right? And S3 you will use S3 to store your objects, etc. But what if your customer needs a kind of shared storage, right? The shared storage means, let's say, if I go and um, launch multiple EC2 nodes, EC2 servers. Let's assume these are my EC2 servers. Okay. And now your customer, they need to have a common shared storage, right? And those EC2 nodes can connect to the same storages, the same shared storages, right? In EBS, it is not out of the box possibility. I mean, there's another types of EBS like provisioned EBS so that you can use the same provision to multiple nodes, but it would be a little expensive. And there are certain instance types only will support those EBS, but in most of the situations, so EBS works something like this way, right? So you will have the EC2 and then you have your own EBS storage, something like that. But if your customer, they want to have some kind of shared storages so that if you create or update some of the data in these shared storages, so all of the nodes are connected to that particular storage, they can access and they can see. That is the whole point of having the shared storages, right? So AWS has the solutions, the service called EFS. This is basically a NFS file system, but if you go for this EFS, then it would be scalable, elastic, and all of the other options like the AWS will take care of, like the backup, the high availability, disaster recovery, all sort of the options AWS will take care of as a managed offering. But in AWS, you can create the EFS and you can connect this EFS to multiple EC2. But only one thing you have to remember, that it will work with Linux operating systems only. Okay. If you have the Windows and Linux, then there's another storage types AWS provides, which is FSX. We'll discuss also. FSX ONTAP, FSX, another FSX storage services that we'll explore. But right now, we are going to see and configure the NFS file systems, and we'll see how to set it up. So here in this AWS Management Console, the first we need to have EC2 nodes, okay, and then we'll create the EFS file systems, okay. So let me go and create two EC2 servers, right? And that would be obviously a Linux one. And then we'll see how to connect this EFS to those two nodes, right? So let me create two launch instances. So server A maybe. Let me stick to the Amazon Linux one. You need to choose instance type. key pair, I can go for, let's say, or maybe what I can do that I can go to the North Virginia options, because we'll see more options there, because that is also important. In all of the regions, you don't have all of the services, all of the features. That is something very important. But let me go to North Virginia and let me follow the same process. Server A, Linux, and then need to select T2 small maybe. Okay, I've already created a key pair. EFS demo, you can create from these options called create new key pair as well. But I already created EFS demo for other batch so that I can use the same key pair. And of course, you need to define a proper VPC, etc. I Let me choose the Grafana, and then let me go to the public one, enable, and security group. Of course, yes, right. This is your firewall, and then here you go. The same process will apply, so that we are going to create another servers, right? And this time server B. Let me go and launch instance or server B. Then small. Let's go for the same VPC subnets, etc. Firewall as well, and launch. So it will take some time to completely launch the instances, right? The initializations phase is still going on. So I'll pause this recording and then I'll come back. And once the server is up, then we can start configuring the EFS and see what all the configurations you need to do, right? All right, so servers are up and ready. So now what we have to do, we can go to EFS now, and we'll create the EFS file system and then attach the EFS. So let me go to the EFS service and create the file systems. You see there's a file systems option. So you have to go and create file system, click on that. Give it any name. Let's say EFS only, no problem, or maybe prot EFS, whatever. And then the same song and dance, the VPC, and hit create. So it is creating. So once it's done, if you click on this particular EFS, and there are so many options you see, the first thing you have to do, you have to check, which is go to network settings, and you see EFS comes up with their um, own mount target, okay, or something like their own endpoint, so that the EC2s can communicate. So that's something like that. So if you create this EFS, and let's say you have the EC2s, okay, let's say AZ1 and AZ2, what EFS will do, EFS will create their mount point at each and every AZs, okay, so that that mount point you can connect to EC2, and from this mount point, the EFS will get connected. So that is something their internal backend architecture. So this mount point will get created, okay, across different AZs, and these EC2s will communicate or connect to that particular mount point, and this mount point will connect to the backend AWS shared storage. So this is all about that. So if you just go and see, the networking section is still getting created. Now it's available. One thing is very important, that the security groups, so in many cases, I've seen that people they create the EFS and then they cannot connect EFS because of some of the security groups improper configuration. So if you go and manage, and you have to define that this EFS will be part of this which security group. So I can select this EFS also will be part of the same security group where my EC2 also connected. So probably if you remember, when we launched the EC2, we chose the same security group. So now my EFS can be part of the same security group so that everybody can communicate everybody. So that my EC2 can communicate EFS and EFS can communicate to EC2. So this is the way that I should choose the security group or maybe same security groups so that they can communicate each other. But if your company, if your security officers, they really don't like this approach, they say, no, 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 I really need to get separated. Absolutely okay. But whatever they might be, the first thing you need to see that proper security group, proper inbound, rules are properly set or not. That is the point. Go and save. So looks like my configurations from the network side okay. So now it's time to log in to the first server. Let's say server A, and connect to the server using the EC2 instance connect. Whatever, I mean, if you use some of the SSH client or something, party or putty or maybe whatever you use. But let me connect by using this EC2 connect. And now once we log in, so now it is connected. So what we need to do, we need to install utilities, the EFS utilities package. I will share these configurations in the description box. So sudo yum installed Amazon EFS utilities, that is the utilities, the package dependencies you need to install, you need to run this command. So once done, then probably you should write another syntax, sudo make dir, let's say EFS, that is the mount drive that you have to create. And then if you go back to your EFS, and then you see this option called attach, and all you need to do that you need to just copy. There are two options, by the way, to connect the EFS. One is EFS mount helper, you can use this one, or you can go for the NFS client. So whatever it can be, you can do. So I chose this NFS client, and then if we just go and select and run the syntax, and if no error comes up, that means you have successfully connected to the mount drive of the EFS, okay, mount point, okay. And if you see that sometimes if you hit enter after this command and it takes long time and nothing is coming up, then something wrong there in the configurations, okay. From my experience, I can tell you. So now it looks me okay, something good. Let me create a file called touch, maybe whatever, let's say touch test1.txt. So I have created a blank test1.txt in this particular mount drive. And if I just go and ls, you see there's a test1.txt has been created. Now it's time to follow the same story, same configurations in the server B as well. Okay. So, and if you just go for the server B, the same configuration, we should see the same file that we have created in the test1 in the server B, because as I said, is all of the shared. Whatever you are going to do, it is inside this shared storage. Whatever you are going to update, it is inside this shared storage. So all of the nodes can visualize, all of the nodes can access the same file. Let's see, okay? Go to connect. Okay, so that is the problem, because this server I have created without any IP public IP addresses maybe. So let me come back to you and let me attach a public IP addresses, or maybe we can try right now, no problem, right? So let me go to the elastic IP address sections. And associate the elastic IP addresses. Yes, and now allocate. So now I have to allocate these IP addresses associate to the instances that I have, let's say server B, right? Associate. So that's how pretty straightforward, right? We have already seen in our first few classes. So now the server B should have the public IP addresses or where I've attached. Okay, which server I've attached actually? Let me check. Server A or server B. Elastic IP addresses once more. Okay, I think this is again wrongly attached. Allocate. Associate server B. But I have attached server B only, right? Let me check. If I go to server B, yeah. So now I have got this server A. I think it is as its own, no problem. So now let me try once again. Connect, yes. So trying to log into server B now because server A configurations all okay. Yes, so the same commands you need to execute, which is the EFS utilities package. Right. And now, if I go back to the EFS, same configurations. Okay, there's a problem because I've not created the directory. The sudo make dir, that's the EFS. That is the directory I have to do and run the command once again. And now, if you can see, okay, let me once again. The same right? Let me. Okay, I think let me check what's the problem. If I just create charge test2.txt, let me log out and log in once again and see. Yes, so the main problem was I didn't get into the real path. Okay, it's a path problem. So you can see now if in the server A, okay, if I go and create anything, let's say another file, let's say touch new EFS demo.txt. So from this server, if I create and if I see it is showing me this one, but in the next server, if I just type ls, you can see the same automatically the file that I've created in the server A from the server A. I can see from the server 2 because I'm actually pointing to the same shared drive, right? Similarly, if I just create here another file from server 2 now, let's say server 2 file, okay? And if I go to server A and just put ls, now you can see server 2. So that's how you can create this EFS. And I can tell you the, what should I say, the usage and the popularity of EFS is very, very high wherever customer wants to have some kind of storage cluster solutions, some kind of cluster technology, high availability solutions. So you can position the AWS EFS there. Its backend is a NFS only. But in those systems, I have seen in SAP workloads, many SAP workloads, the EFS plays a significant roles. Some of the other, let's say, ERP applications, there are a lot of smart meter technologies. I've seen that people are using, customer are using these EFS technologies. So that is scalable also. Now, if I'll go to the console and if you see other options as well, right? You can monitor that as usual, right? You can see the health from the CloudWatch monitoring metrics. You can see there's a throughput utilizations and all stuff. Wherever you can see these dotted lines anywhere in the CloudWatch, okay? Always remember that is your threshold, okay? This is something important. Wherever it's not only EFS, I'm just trying to mention here. And then access points, we have already, the network already we have discussed. And then you see there's a replication also. So replication also, that means if your customer, they really want to, they are very much concerned about the disaster recovery and all stuff, that you can replicate the EFS to other regions as well. Pretty straightforward. All you need to select and create other regions and replicate to existing file system options also, or maybe you have to create a new file system. So you can create a completely new file system in your target region, and then you can create, the existing file system also you can do and create. Okay, that is something you can do. Now, if I go to these options, right, the other important options. So file system policy, this is again the policy like S3, this kind of resource-based policy, right? You can go and you can create some of your policy to prevent root access, some of the other granular policy you can do for as kind of least privileges, least you understand, least privilege, least grant least access, something like that. So this is very important in security, right? So you really need to set a right policy, replications, etc. And now if you just go and click on edit, you see that automatic backups options already there. So that means AWS is taking care about the EFS backup. You can do the lifecycle management, same thing that we have done for the S3, right? You can actually push your data to infrequent access and then archival, etc. Infrequent access always good choice, right? To save cost for your infrequent data, like maybe logs, maybe some of the data, and then later point of time the glacier. So mostly it can be used for the compliance reasons, right? People want to keep their data into some of the archival. And then if you see, there are options called performance settings. There are two options called bursting and enhanced. So the bursting is sometimes it ups and down, right? It is not very steady state or consistent performance. Whenever you see bursting in AWS, is kind of anytime it goes up and goes down. And then enhance means it provides a more flexibility and higher throughput if your customer needs a kind of higher throughput, right? And they really don't want to take any risk about the busting performance, then enhance is always a good options. Elastic is by default and which is recommended that under enhanced elastic, you see if you choose elastic, then any unpredictable IO. Okay, this mode is good for unpredictable IO, and you will get elastic throughput performance automatically scales. This is good. And if you go for the provision, then you really need to go for the provision one, and you can go for the provision throughput, right? Like a particular throughput in MBs that probably that this is the MBs, this is the throughput you need for your workload, and if you can define that it will not go above the provision, right? It is a kind of proper testing, I can tell you, to different customers, and I really suggest to different customer that if you really don't know about your workload in terms of the throughput and what sort of performance settings you choose, probably they can go for the a kind of proper test, right? Load test, or some kind of stress test they can do, and then they will get their recommended, or they will decide that whether provision or elastic. So that's about the EFS from the solutions architect perspective, and this is a good service from a storage type. You should positions wherever customer need a high availability, but again, it only supports the Linux. Thank you. So I'll take a pause, and then I'll resume with some of the other new services. Probably the next service that we are going to discuss, which is the FSX on tab, by which you can connect both Linux and Windows. Thank you.